took a group of people that came to our event. We did all kinds of brain measurements on them, and then we put heart rate variability devices on them. And we asked them to trade emotions like fear or anger or resentment or impatience or frustration, and stop feeling those feelings, and just for a few times a day to feel gratitude, just for 15 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes, 2-3 times a day. At the end of 4 days, we were looking to measure if there were any significant changes in their immune regulation, and we found out that the body started producing 50% more of a chemical called IgA, immunoglobulin A, the body's natural antiviral, antibacterial, natural flu shot. When you are receiving something favorable, or you just receive something enjoyable, if something wonderful just happened to you, or something really amazing is happening to you, you feel grateful. So the emotional signature of gratitude is something amazing is happening to you, or it just happened to you. It's the ultimate state of receiving emotionally. If you can teach a person to truly practice gratitude, there'll be significant changes in the way their heart thumps, the way it beats, and what it starts to do to the brain. We've studied this thousands of times. So when you start feeling grateful, your heart starts beating in a rhythm that begins to influence or inform the brain that it's safe to create. It's believing in that moment that it's safe to be out of survival. And practice that enough times, the body starts to regenerate. So we saw changes in immune regulation, we saw changes in gene expression. Why? Because the body's believing it's living in an environment where the person's dreams have already happened. Now, we only accept, believe, and surrender to thoughts that are equal to our emotional state. We never accept, believe, and surrender to thoughts that are not equal to our emotional state. And this is why affirmations don't work. You could say, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. And your body's going, no, you're not, you're miserable. So the thought never makes it past the brainstem to the body. Teach a person to change from fear and break that conditioning and practice with enough times creating the same feeling of gratitude as automatically as they did with fear. In a very short amount of time, you can see very significant changes in how the body regulates and how it functions. And the heart then starts to beat in this beautiful, beautiful coherent state. And so we started looking to see if teaching people how to do that and sustaining it, if it made significant changes. And without a doubt, when we accept, believe, and surrender to the thoughts that are equal to the emotional state of gratitude, that information programs the autonomic nervous system into a different destiny. Teach a person how to be in a state of receivership and gratitude, they can program their brain and body a lot quicker than when they're feeling fear and anger, because you get the diagnosis. The moment you get the diagnosis, you notice a change in your internal state. You're changed. When you notice that change in your internal state, the brain freezes a frame and takes a snapshot, and that's called a long-term memory. So the doctor says, you have 6 months to live, you have this condition, this is what happened, and all that information's going in because it's equal to the emotion of fear. So get the person out of that state, because that's a state of survival and you're losing energy in the body. And in gratitude, you're regenerating energy. So get the person to a state of gratitude and then teach them how to program their brain and body. Then you start seeing changes in their autonomic nervous system. Meditation is to prime the brain and body into a new state of being and then maintain that modified state of mind and body your entire day. You got to be able to practice it with your eyes open, that no condition, no circumstance in your environment, no person, no thing, no craving in the body, no wrong choice. You got to be able to sustain that state. And if you can, get ready, because there's going to be changes in your outer world. That's the law. When we started studying people that were healing in this work, that were diagnosed with immune-mediated conditions, they noticed that when they started doing the meditations, their well-being came back, but their blood values and their markers never changed. And it occurred to them, my God, I have a great meditation, I feel amazing. But then when I get up, I return back to the same worrying person. Now I gotta step it up. I gotta make the changes with my eyes open. And when they started doing it with their eyes open, that's when we started seeing the blood values and everything changing. So in our retreats, you can sit as it and get really good at it, but then there's 4 types of meditation. There's a seated, there's a standing, there's a walking, and there's a laying down. And so if you're going to become that person you want to become, you better be able to practice doing it with your eyes open. So we teach people 1,000, 1,500 people on a beach or in a park. Everybody get that, open their hearts, get in that elevated state and move into a new state of being. And then let's open our eyes. And now let's practice walking with our eyes open as that person. No different than rehearsing for a play or rehearsing and becoming that person. And if you do it enough times, and a person understands that, how would I walk if I could heal my body in an hour? Who am I going to leave behind here? And who am I going to walk as? And a lot of people just hit it. And when they do, you see dramatic changes in their health because they're actually embodying the energy of their future. So we practice seating, we practice standing and walking, we practice laying down. We practice it all ways because we want the person to become that very person in 1 week. And if they do, our research shows there's dramatic biological markers that change, not small amounts, like everything from methylated DNA to changes in cytokines, the changes in immune markers to suppression of ATP in cancer cells, downregulating genes for Alzheimer's, and we just see dramatic changes in people's biology. Your body's a protein-producing machine, and muscle cells make muscle proteins, they're called actin and myosin. Skin cells make skin proteins, they're called collagen and elastin. Stomach cells make stomach proteins, they're called enzymes. And every cell in your body except red blood cells makes proteins, and proteins are responsible for structure, holding it together, and function and physiology, how we work. It's messengers, right? But in order for a cell to make a protein, a gene has to be regulated. So they used to say genes create disease. Well, you know this, less than 1% of the people on the planet are born with a genetic health condition. Everything else is lifestyle, it's behavior, it's stress. So then they say now, well, genes don't create disease, it's the environment that signals the gene that creates disease. Take two identical twins, you watch one age looks 54, the other one lives to 83, they don't even look like the same person, share the same genome. Well, the environment was signaling the gene expression to make certain proteins, and the person develops a different condition because it's the environment that does that. But now here's the problem. If the environment signals the gene, the outer environment of the cell is the inner environment of the body. And what is that? That's the emotions or chemical, physical, and emotional balance that we have to maintain. So if a person's just constantly living in fear, even if the environment is wonderful and they're on vacation and they keep remembering an event or anticipating a future and they're bringing up the emotion of anxiety and fear, it makes sense then that the person's signaling the gene outside of the outer environment because they're making the emotion in their inner environment and there's no difference. And so if that happens, the constant effect by the hormones of stress downregulate genes and create disease. And if you can turn on that stress response just by thinking about your problems, then your thoughts are literally going to make you sick. So if your thoughts can make you sick, can your thoughts make you well? And you cannot begin to see changes in a person's health until they stop regulating the same genes the same way and they start up-regulating new genes and down-regulating old genes. And if they do that, they start producing different enzymes and different chemicals and different hormones, and their body begins to scale in a different direction.